I saw wasn't human.
Oh my God!
It was very tall. What's more, it saw me. This thing.
Rawhead Rex.
This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. And welcome back to another instalment of Rawhead Rex in Pieces, a sub-series of the podcast Under the Stairs where we take the beloved classic Rawhead Rex from 1986, we split up into bite-size 5-minute segments for reviewing. I invite podcasters from all over the globe to join me, sit down and discuss those 5 minutes, but because this is the podcast Under the Stairs, because I'm awkward and I like to just make things difficult for everyone, including the listener, the release order of the episodes is randomised. So this might be the first episode you're hearing, this might be the last episode, or this could be somewhere in the middle. On this episode, we are discussing minutes 40 through 45. This will be starting with David Duke entering the room with two detectives at the 40-minute mark. It will finish at the 45-minute mark with David Duke again packing up the car, saying, checking out is always a major adventure. Joining me on this episode is long-time collaborator with Podcast Under the Stairs is, of course, the phenomenal Gary Hill. How are you doing, Gary?
Oh, I'm feeling fine, man. I'm glad to be here for this.
I'm looking forward to this as well. I need not ask this, but I'm going to anyway. Not the first time you'd watched Rawhead Rex.
No, I've seen it, in passing. I can't say that I've watched it like 20 times like some people, but yeah, I watched it once or twice. I could appreciate a massive heavy metal looking creature,
Gwar-esque. I think like in terms of how you approached it for this time round, I'm always interested to hear how different podcasters approach this. Some do the entire movie but just take notes for the segments they're on. Some just do the 5 minutes, like for their 5 minutes, like just cold out of context, and then watch the movie after. And some just do the 5 minutes and no more. Did you watch the whole movie this time round, or just your 5 minutes in isolation?
I watched the whole thing because I haven't seen it in a long time. So if I were to pick two scenes out of context, there's still a story here.
Yeah.
It's although very loose at times. But I wanted to watch. I watched it so I could watch these scenes, in context of the movie.
Yeah.
Just to be a little more helpful.
Yeah, you get, depending on the release order, your other episode may have already dropped at this stage. You actually do at least get a through-line story in this, which we'll touch on your second recorded episode, which I say may have already happened first. So let's kick into this. This one starts with David Duke entering the room with the two detectives, and the two cops are on the phone. And the other police officer is trying to get him in to speak to him, and they're like, yeah, in a second. And the two detectives I've aptly named Detective 1 and Detective 2 because we never really get their names. So the main detective's like, what can I do for you? Sorry, wait, I have to do the accent. What can I do for you? Because this whole series just has me doing terrible Irish accents. And David Duke's like, well, I heard about the murders last night and I think I saw something. And the detective's like, oh? He says, well, I'm not exactly sure what. Now, instantly, Gary, I'm thinking to myself, he did not think about this before he went in here. Like this is like, he's the least helpful eyewitness ever because he is vague and he just expects the police to take what he's about to say at face value, which, let's be honest, no right-minded person would take at face value. Is that safe to say?
I think it's definitely safe to say because he saw our friend here. He saw who you find out his name in my next 5 minutes of this movie, and it's hard to describe this thing without sounding like a crazy person. You know, just think of an 8-foot-tall blocky lawless with fangs.
he says, what I saw wasn't human, and the detective says, I beg your pardon. And he says, at least I don't think it was. It was very tall, much too big to be a man. And the detective says, how big? And he says, 8 foot, 9 foot. And I love the detective at this point, is just like that. I really don't have the time. And then Duke just flies off the handle. He's like, you know what? If I put some passion into this, they'll believe me. Then he says, let me speak. I saw it. And what's more, it saw me. That thing was watching me, fixed on me with those mean, burning red eyes. Didn't mention cockeyed, which he probably should have, because they're never straight in this movie. Says, I know how this sounds. Believe me, I know. But I saw it. And the other detective was like, was it in the road? And he's like, no, it was up in the field. And he's like, cattle then. You saw cattle. And Duke's like, for Christ's sake, I know what cattle looks like. That's not what I saw. Which, once again, you're just making yourself sound more fucking crazy. Like, you're not making yourself sound any better. And the detectives are still humouring them. The main one's like, darkness can be deceiving. And Duke says, I came here to tell all of this. I came here to tell you something. I saw something, and I don't know what it is, but it was there, and it's out there right now. So what are you going to do? And the detective's like, well, if you want to give a statement to the police officer over there, and Duke's like, forget it, just forget it, and he leaves the room. And, I mean, Americans sometimes get, I don't know, a kind of global perception as being a bit footloose, fancy-free, flying off the handle, exaggerating, larger-than-life characters. David Duke isn't dispelling that here in this police station. If anything, he's underpinning it. And I'll be honest with you, he's, like, from a police point of view, he's lucky he's just being humoured and asked to make a statement rather than spending the night in the cells, if you know what I mean. I think that's fair.
Yeah, first of all, you know, Howard Hallenbeck is not only the whitest dude in this entire movie.
That cardigan speaks volumes, dude.
It does speak volumes. And whatever that scarf thing he has going on, it ain't that cold outside, guy. It ain't that cold outside. Yeah, him talking about this, you know, he should have mentioned that this thing was bipedal and not a cow. Mm-hmm. Maybe trying to defend himself a little bit. It is crazy, and he really didn't do that. And I really wish that, you know, instead of these cops, these very Irish cops, I had the Sanford Police Department from Hot Fuzz making comments back at him. It would have been spectacular.
Oh, that couldn't be right. He had a great big bushy beard.
So good.
So we kind of leave David Duke leaving here, and the other detective inexplicably turns around and says, "Sir, maybe we ought to look out at what he's saying." And the other detective, as a mic drop, but with no mic, drops his cigar in the detective's tea. And that's the end of that scene. And we switch over to Reverend Coote, who's sitting in his rectory. And David Duke's went right there. And he asks him if he wants some tea. And Duke says, not for me. Look, I was wondering about those parish records. Now, this is the Lincoln thing, because there's a statement here about the Panish records going missing, and in your next scene, the Panish records are found. So I like to think that is the synchronicity of your 2 5-minute segments here. That's the linking mechanism between the two. But the Reverend is so blasé about this. He's like, yes, a curious thing that they appear to have been removed from the premises. And Hallenbeck's like, you mean stolen? He's like, well, it seems so, but I can't really see why. And that's kind of wrapping up that part of the story. So they leave with a shake of the hand, but meanwhile, the Verger is creepily, he's the MVP of this entire movie.
Declan,
yeah, Declan O'Brien, which is just, you might as well just call him Irish McFinn. You know what I mean? He's the most white Irish name I've ever seen ever. And he's standing in the bushes, creepily watching him go. And David Duke's like right back into the church and taking more photos of this stained glass window, which at this point, if you've just described, dude, listen, you've been in the church earlier on, you've seen what can only be described as the weirdest stained glass window you have ever seen in your entire life. That's seared into your memory, and then 2 nights later, you're out for a quick cigarette and you see a fucking like Gwar-looking motherfucker with red glowing eyes, and you don't instantly put 2 and 2 together and be like, that kind of reminds me of that stained glass window. No, doesn't do it. He's taking photos and he starts to translate the Latin on the stained glass window, which apparently translates to death goes in fear of what it cannot be. And then we get like so much intense over the top acting here. I love this scene. He turns around, bumps into the Verger, drops his camera at his feet. The camera goes off. He says, "I'm sorry." And then what does Declan do here, Gary? I mean, does he do the Christian thing? Does he lean over, pick up that camera and hand it back in one piece?
Oh, he gets the power of Samson, apparently, because this is a 1986 Polaroid camera. Okay, I remember they're very heavy. Like the film weighed like 2 pounds. Okay?
Oh God, yeah.
This guy smashes this thing with 1 foot and one blow. You know, not like he jumped out like, hey, I'm gonna mess up your camera. No, he freaking destroys it. I think he's been imbued with the power of God or something.
Yeah.
Hey, no Polaroids in my church, buddy.
He fucking waffle stops this into little pieces, and I love this. He goes, oh dear, but it might as well have just went, oops. And Dick looks at him and says, what did you do that for? And the Verger, just carrying on this unchristianly behaviour, says, get the fuck out of here. There's nothing here for you. And
he should have said, no flash photography, son.
And finally the veneer of Hallenbeck drops, and that good old USA spirit, he pretty much, he John Wayne's him here. He grabs him by the throat, and you hear him go, huh? And grabs him, pushes him over up against a pew, and says, "Yeah, I'll get the fuck out of here, and you better be fucking glad. That's a little present for you, goddamn maniac." And at first, the scared Verger then kind of changes back into that maniacal smile, laughs a little bit, and we kind of fixate on his maniacal face. And then we're swinging this home, because there ain't a lot happening in this 5 minutes here. We go back to the Tall Man, the pub boy, back to the Tall Man pub, and David Duke's coming out with bags packed, and his wife says, "Finally, God, it took you long enough." And Duke says, "Well, checking out is always a major adventure." So you don't get any primo Rawhead Rex action in this segment. You get basically, and there's a lot of these in the 5 minute segments we've been covering, like a lot of exposition, a lot of kind of characters carrying on the story, what little there is of it, along here. I suppose my big question to you is, do you have a favourite line or favourite segment from this 5 minutes?
I wouldn't say a line because it's a lot of exposition, which is fine. You know, between this one and the next one I got, which explains, the monster, explains everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a favorite line. I just think that you really get some prime Declan here.
Yeah.
Because he's not really like hiding in the back saying, I'm just that weird preacher. No, he just gets in his face and just destroys that camera unhuman like.
Like just fucking karate kicks it to smithereens.
He destroys this thing like you've seen The Last Dragon, right?
Yeah.
Where they're playing the boombox in the theater.
Yes.
They destroy the boombox in the theater, as in Bruce Lee or so, I forget who it was, jumps down on a brick or something.
Yeah.
And that thing shatters smithereens, but he used both feet for that thing.
Yeah.
But 1 foot, Declan just chewing the scenery in this scene and my next scene too. So
he's even better in the next one.
he's even a bigger MVP than Rawhead at this point, in my opinion.
Like his escalation is nothing short of spectacular. I'm with you. I love this interaction because it like, to me it really starts to, like, from the moment you meet Declan, he's a little bit like when we first meet him, he's doing the whole Hallelujah singing scene where he's forcing people to continue singing it because he's clearly not happy with their performance. So he seems like a relatively intense young man anyway. And by the time we get to this point here, this is the first time he openly swears. He's being violent. He's stamping out some authority. And I kind of love it. But it's the smashing the oopsie doo. You know what I mean? Like, he's like literally, oh dear, did I break your camera? It's just such a dickhead thing to do, and I kind of love it because of that. Gary, you're a busy man. You do podcasts out there. Where can people check out your stuff, my friend?
The best place you can find me is legionpodcast.com. Look for Sin and Beef. Look for Two Drink Minimum commentaries. But if you want to go on your local podcatcher and catch everything that I do, including Last Call of Torchies, the Walter Hill Show with the boys there, and anything else, go to find the Butcher Shop feed on whatever podcatcher you may use.
Very, very, very nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Gary's other episode is either already out or will be coming out very, very, very soon. I don't know the order of these because we haven't put them through the randomizer yet, but you are getting episodes every single day in October. So, the next one won't be that far away. And all that's left for me to say is we will speak to you next time.